Well, that was a doozy. Morning. That was a real doozy. Started raining 3:30 yesterday afternoon. Light rain for about 15 minutes. Put my poncho on and then it just came down and didn't stop. I stopped walking 6 o'clock. Managed to squish my way into a little bit of woodland because I knew there was a bit of a storm with some wind coming. But the rain just didn't stop, and it was heavy rain, the big droplets of rain. Everything was soaked. The footprint had puddles on it before I could even put the tent over, and I was chucking it up. I've managed to stay dry and warm all night, but I've got my clothes all wet through. My trekking shoes are soaking wet through. Not like damp, but soaking wet, so I'm not sure what to do about them. I'll have a cup of tea and some breakfast. Probably break camp, get out. I think it's going to be dry the first couple of hours in the morning, then cloudy. So if I can get out, get in the open a bit, and then I'll unpack my bag again and get the tent dry. Try and get some of my clothes dry, maybe, hopefully. Like I say, I was nice and warm in the tent. I was a bit concerned last night because I got this flame creed quilt, which is still lovely and warm for this time of year, September, but if it gets wet, it's useless, it's down. But I've got this, it's like a bivvy bag type thing, and I managed to get myself into that as well, and that's managed to keep me dry, I think, most of the night. And I've luckily, touch wood, not touched the sides, so the inside of the tent's dry and I'm warm. But I'm going to make myself a cup of tea and get up and try to work out a bit of a plan how to dry this stuff out. Fortunately for me, I bought this, I've got merino top and bottom like my pyjamas and a pair of socks to keep warm. And I was warm last night, but yeah, that rained consistently. Put the tent up 6 o'clock and it rained right the way through to 11, half 11, and then we had about 2 hours of good strong wind. I missed the most of it because I'm in this little bit of woodland, but yeah, probably it's up there in the top 3 of soaking wet times I've had. I've said it before in previous videos, but please practice getting your stuff out and packing it away inside the tent. When you inflate your mattress and stuff outside and pop it in your tent on a fine night, it's great. But like, it's an example of, I've just put my quilt away because I want to make sure it keeps dry, and my silk liner as well, because I don't like a stink sack. But you can see the conditions inside here. On the floor I got this bit of black or grey. It's called light AF material. I said again, it should be called sticks like shit. But underneath there, you can see the dampshire, and I've got a footprint with this tent. It was just that wet last night when I was putting it up, but that stopped the wet getting through to me, which is ideal. As you could probably tell, tent's still wet, leaves blown all over it, and it's not really an ideal location, to be honest with you. Just had to make do. The sun is up, but it's cloudy, so it's not breaking through, so nothing's going to get dry. The only thing that'll be my friend today is the wind, and there's not much of that. Not sure if I mentioned last night, that's the other downside to this. I'm wearing shorts on this trip because it's warm. I don't like getting hot legs. And I had to break through these stinger nettles coming off that bank up there. And I had stinger nettles on the path for the last hour before caning into my legs. So I spent 2 hours last night with tingly legs. It wasn't too bad. There wasn't scratchy, but tingly for a couple of hours. So not a great. The ground was that soggy last night. I couldn't get the guy rope anywhere that I sort of thought was going to be reliable, and that was vital for me to stay dry in the tent last night. So I had to adapt and improvise and, overcome. You can see I've got this tent pole guy rope wrapped around the branch, which worked, but this branch actually isn't live. It's a loose one, but it worked. I've tried to adapt just the branches and stuff to dry some of my stuff out. My good poncho there, and there's my shirt, pair of shorts over there. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to I've got a wind cheater. I might just put the wind cheater on rather than the wet t-shirt. I'm going to have to put the wet shorts on, and I think I'll keep the wet socks on over on from yesterday, just to start off with, because I've got my shoes on at the moment with no socks, and they're not just damp or moist, they're soaked all the way through. There's puddles on the inside of them, which can't be helped. I'm not complaining, it's just they're soaking wet. There's no point in putting a pair of dry socks on, so we'll go with that. You can see the problem, they're not damp, they're soaked. The challenge I've got is the sun is there, it's daylight, but it's not breaking through for the cloud, and as you can probably tell, it's just still here. There's not a drop of wind, so nothing's going to dry out, and with the nature of being in the woods as well. There are advantages sometimes of getting out of strong winds, but you're always going to be damp in the woods, so I don't think I'm going to be drying these out anytime soon. So I'm going to have something to eat and a cup of tea and just mull over what I'm going to do. Been trying to make a bit of a plan for the walk today. I think what I'm going to do is, I've got about 8 miles to Loddon. I'm at Langham at the moment. I think it's Langham, and Langley. I think it's 8 miles to Loddon, and I can get something to eat there, and then it'll be another 7 miles through to Reedham. I think there's a ferry. If I can get to the ferry and over to the other side, that'll be like 27 miles, and the walk total is 37, so that'll leave me 10 miles tomorrow. Hopefully find somewhere to pitch, and I also got to get into Yarmouth and catch the train, so that's what I'm going to be aiming at. But I need to factor in stopping in a couple of places and drying out the tent and the rest of my clothes somewhere along the line. But that's what I'm going to go for today. I'm packing at the moment. I've just had something to eat. I'm going to have my cup of tea and then drop the tent. I'm not going to pack the bag. I'm going to chuck it in the bag and go, so I can actually get out into the daylight. The sun looked like it broke through, but now it's gone cloudy all over as well, so it's not working out best for me. Final check round, bit flat stinging out us. That's where I was last night. Leave no trace. Sun looks like it's breaking through. About 10 minutes ago we had another shower. Let's hope it keeps dry now. Sun's come out for me. Not sure how long it's going to last because of the cloud over there. And I've got some friends, a visitor crew in the middle there, need to negotiate. Up till now I've never minded cows, but I understand that some people don't like them, so it's something to be aware of. Just take your time, be confident, quiet and slow. Something to be aware of if you're walking, and particularly while camping this route, the Wherrymans Way, is from Langley, and no, I didn't see Stan Smith. Go past the moorings. Once you get past the moorings, you go through a gate, and then there's cattle in the field, so there's no real possibility of overnight camping along here, because you'll be in the field with cattle all the time. I just had some on the path. Just something to be aware of. There's plenty of open space, but there's cattle all over it, so unfortunate. It's beautiful and very tranquil out here. You've got the boats slowly cruising past, but not making much noise. Seen a few swans, heron taken off, but for the sake of being 100% truthful, you do have a little bit of industry as well. I think that's a sugar beet factory. As you can probably tell, the sun's broke through. It's coming down on my face now. I normally walk for a couple of hours straight off before I take a break. I like to get a little bit of a chunk done, get my legs warmed up. Feel like you've done a couple of miles before you've taken a break. Out here, oh, you can see over my shoulder now. It's what I call East Anglia. Norfolk is the land of the big skies. There's nothing you can do about stopping it. You get lots of warning on the weather. You can actually see it coming in from miles away. Miles and miles, literally. I can remember I lived in Norfolk for a while. And Denver Mill was 10 miles away. And on a clear day I could see that straight across easily. So you can see the clouds, which is wonderful. It's just beautiful to be outside, to be honest with you, even though I'm soaked wet through. I'm just thinking, or wondering, just Just a quick review of yesterday afternoon because the phone went in the pocket and just didn't really come out. From the new inn, walking through to Beauchamp Inn, I think. It's beautiful, lovely, but it's very overgrown, so be aware of that. If you're wearing shorts, particularly stinging nettles, reeds up to your armpit, you need to push through it a little bit, and then when it was wet it wasn't so good. I think Beauchamp Inn's closed. That'd be well worth checking because there didn't seem any life to me at all. But then after that, you go down the track and then unfortunately you need to be facing a bit of road work, which isn't ideal if you're taking it on the end of the first day. All the way through to Langley, the heavens open up for me, the poncho's soaked through, and there's nowhere really to wild camp at Langley, to be honest with you. I pushed into the woods, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's stinging nettles, the ground's soggy, easy to get a pig in and equally to pull out while your tent's up. I got away with it last night, but I wouldn't recommend it. And then after the little bit coming out of Langley where the moorings is, you're into open fields and there's cattle everywhere, so I wouldn't camp in the field with cattle for lots of different reasons. But yeah, but then this next bit's nice and open from Langley going out. It's really out in the thing. Besides, what I'm going to say is the sugar beet factory, I will check that. It's really nice because you're out in the middle of nowhere and you can view as far as you can see. The sun's out. Could be a bit cloudy. I might stop a little bit early and try and dry my tent and other stuff out just while it's clear, because it just makes it a bit lighter and it's ready for later on. But we'll see. Make it up as I go along. Just caught a glimpse of my shadow. Forgot I got my poncho drying out on the back of my rucksack. I look like Batman with a cape. So look, I've gone back in time. Lovely old windmill. I've been going for an hour now, easy pace, and the sun broke through. I just had a shower a couple of minutes ago. Only a minute, maybe 2 minutes, but it really light rain and I didn't even bother stopping. But the sun's shining up there, but this is what's coming in again. Look in the distance, it looks like it's touching down and the temperature's just dropped a little bit, noticeably. So hopefully I'm not going to get soaked again. Looks very nice chugging along the river with a nice boat like that. I don't know what you have to do to be able to afford a boat like that, and I'm not sure if I'd like it, to be honest with you. Wouldn't mind doing it for a weekend. Here's a lovely spot for an overnight. We rode another hour last night. The wind's coming across a bit. The wind wasn't too strong. This is lovely, beautiful flat grass. You're away from everybody. There's some moorings and stuff down there, but you're not going to bother anybody. I'll show you on the map later. There's another nice clearing at the other end of Hardley Dyke. Not quite so level, but nice open and a bit of shelter from the trees. At a push. Not as nice as the other side. Well, not as level as the other side, shall I say. Another mill on the other side of the river, sadly with no sails. I think it's a mill anyway. I will check. Looking back over to the sugar beet factory, whatever it was. There's another windmill there. Is that the one I passed before? I think that may be the one I passed before. I'm just wondering, in my head wondering. I was just thinking the merits or the pros and cons of walks. And sometimes you have landmarks and things. It's nice to see the windmills, etc. But I think if you were into bird life, it's 100% definite. There's so many birds around, it's untrue. But for me, I think it's just the vast open spaces. It really is huge. You can see for miles and miles and miles around. You get that feeling of isolation, but in a good way. You can see the weather coming in. It keeps threatening with rain. It hasn't rained on me yet. But you can just feel the space. The windmill centre of screen now is at Norton Staith, and this is one of those messes with your mind a bit. The river goes in and I need to walk all the way into Loddon to get round the river and then come all the way back out again. It's quite a walk. I'll let you know how long it is. It's one of those things that could get in your mind and mess with you, but you just got to get on and do it. If I was in a rush or wanted to take a shortcut, I guess I could always bring a bin bag or a dry sack, chuck my rucksack in and just probably not wade but swim across, but I don't think that's going to be happening today. I'm quite happy that I'm drying out at the moment. Perhaps don't want to be soaking wet again for a while. If you're walking this route and you get that feeling of like you're going in the wrong way, it's because you sort of potentially are. The tree line in the distance there and the white boats is Hardley Dyke, which we left from about 3/4 of an hour ago. And you come out from there, and then there's the sugar beet factory in the centre of screen now. You actually come out in almost a circle. Go out to the corner there, and then we're tracing it back here, and then coming back through there. So we're heading back towards Hardley Dyke, and you can see it quite clearly, the boats and stuff. So you get that feeling of going the wrong way, but you're not. It loops round in a second to the left, and I'll be heading towards Loddon. This little bit of section, there's plenty of opportunities to drop down off the riverbank. Grass is long, I think you'll be sheltered from the wind a bit. For a little bit of an overnight before you walked into Loddon the next morning would be quite cool. I think I've got a couple of miles left. The path out here is not desperately worn, it's obviously not used that much, and some parts of it is overgrown a bit, but I haven't come across any stinger nettles like I did yesterday, so it's nice unless it's soaking wet. Get to this bit of the river, and Wherryman's Way is signposted. There's the river across there, and it's counterintuitive, but I've just checked on OS maps and I believe it to be right. It looks like you would just follow the river, and like I have been for the last, I don't know, 40 minutes or so. But yeah, looks like we cut through this way. If I'm wrong, I'll tell you. I would call this a bridleway or like a farmer's gravel path, but there's plenty of little bits on the side of the fields. If you needed to for the night, just tuck out either side of the hedge, whichever the winds come in. Just stop for a quick 5 minutes, and the rain's spotting on and off every 5 or 10 minutes. It's not raining, but just rain. But it's weird, the weather forecast is supposed to be coming from the west later this evening, but that's travelling from the north and it's following me. Weird. That's hardly flood there. Centre of screen now, I'll just zoom in a bit. I've just been checking the map, and because I've had head in the sky just to join the scenery, I've gone slightly wrong. I should be the other side of Hardley Flood, but I can walk to the end of this footpath and then just have to catch the road the last little bit, but my bad. That weather is definitely chasing me. It's spotted again now. Like I said, it's not showing anything on the forecast. My little whoopsie with the map there is gonna cost me a little bit of mileage, not very much, but unfortunately I'm gonna have to walk the last little bit on road, so not so good. Need to note to oneself, need to concentrate a little bit more and just not drift off. I've just hit the road and I'm wondering, perhaps I didn't go the wrong way. That's the old route, and it's been diverted because I've got the finger post now. Comes out on the road and Loddon that way. That path had the little blue coloured disc on rather than the red for the Wherryman. I think it might be alternative, but I couldn't read it for a bit short-sighted. So I've got a mile and a quarter on a road like this. So looking forward to getting there. What I'm hoping to do is get something to eat. I think there's a fish and chip shop. Could quite do fish and chips, even though I don't normally eat during the day. and get my tent and stuff out and dry it. That'd be excellent, but we'll see how we get on. From the centre of Loddon, walk past a couple of pubs until they get to the church, and then turn left. There's a signpost with a little car park. Through the churchyard and come out the other side, and there's this nice little tarmac footpath. I think the footpath originally was down through there, but it says it's closed. So I think I've got a bit of road walking to do. I'm going to try and make it to Reedham Ferry this afternoon. Get over the ferry into Reedham, treat myself to a pint, because my daughter's just FaceTime me, so she got engaged, so emotional. I think I'll get myself a pint. After a short while out of Loddon on the road, you cut across a field, directs left, because across the field, behind houses, across another field, through this lush field with horses in, and to this little footbridge here. How cute is that? Unfortunately, path turns into this, obviously not used very much. Stinging nettles and the wet grass up to like knee to thigh height. But that's the nature of footpaths. Please use them. If we don't use them, we will lose them. Supposed to be registered or something soon, aren't they? But yeah, got a quite way, so I'm going to battle through this. But just by the church here. Push, I'd consider a wild camp on these little bits next to the sweet corn. There's several of them on the route between Loddon and Reedham. I'm about halfway now from Loddon to Reedham. There's some beautiful woods around here. Really old school. Still walking this tarmac road. The sun popped through. There was a grass verge, so I just got out my tent and my footprint and my mat in the van that was soaking wet. Dried them out for 10 minutes, and it's clouded back over again, unfortunately. But the combination between the sun and the wind took no time at all, just worth a bit of effort. Hopefully they'll be almost dry for later on now. Psychologically, this could be a real mind melt. Literally just back there on the corner, as I come around there, I looked up, I can just about see the river. I can see the sugar beet factory I walked past this morning about 5 hours ago. And it doesn't look like we've done very much, because we've gone so far inland and then so far back out again. And now on this tarmac, I've been wishing for the sun all day so I could actually dry my tent out. Now I've got it on my back and it's warmed up a bit, and I'm on a tarmac road. Not sure if it's just me, but I seem to struggle on a tarmac road. It seems harder, it's got no give. I find it harder on my feet and my ankles. Maybe it's just me, maybe it's because I just don't want to do it, and a petulant child. I think it's times like that when you potentially could slide. You could just stop and kick yourself in the butt. That's what I've just done. Yeah, it's tarmac road, yeah, I don't like them, but I'm outside. I'm lucky for that. I'm not having to sit in an office, I'm not in the town, I'm outside. In the elements, in my element. Tired brick windmill. I think it's one of the tallest ones in East Anglia. I'll check that out. Chain pull ferry, I just missed it. Guess I'll have to wait for the next one. Or shall I swim across? Nah, I'll wait for the next one. Somebody else waiting for the ferry. Guys, I'm sure you could swim across. As you go over the ferry, the footpath is open. The book that I've got, and admittedly it's very old, says it's closed and there's a detour around. That's a cool house, isn't it? But yeah, which is much nicer to walk on, obviously. And the detour in Probably added 50% to your journey as well, walking on tarmac, so Billy bonus at the end of the day. Reedham Swing Bridge. A beautiful little cottage here. Could that get nicer? Right next to the river. Left Reedham for about 20 minutes ago, just having a quick look back, and right in the centre of the screen there is Reedham, just the other side of that tree line. I'm just looking somewhere out here in the middle of nowhere. I'm looking between here and those windmills in the distance there. You can just see them centre of the screen. I'm going to go about halfway between where I am now and out that way, hopefully. God, that is so much easier to do when it's not chucking down with rain. I've put it up in the rain before, but that was hammering it down last night. Literally, as soon as I put the footprint down, there was puddles on it. I don't think I've had it as wet as that. Like I said last night, perhaps in the top 3. But not a bad location. I've got the riverbank behind me if it's windy that way from the east. I've got some crop here if it comes from the west. Sun settling. I've got the tent facing east. I'm about 1.5 miles from Reedham. I haven't put Strava on this time. I think I've done about, I'd guess 26, maybe 27 miles over the last 2 days. So I've got an easy 10 mile, when I say easy, I've got a 10 mile shorter trip into Yarmouth tomorrow to catch the train back again on this 3-day, 2-night wild camping trip. Trip so far, yesterday was a bit of a, with the rain and stuff, it just makes it hard. Today, it was until 3 o'clock this afternoon. I managed to get 20 minutes just to, the sun broke through, got my tent out, got my mat out and dried them out a lot. They're still not 100% dry, but I dried them out a lot. So that was the Billy bonus. The walk, there's too much road work for my mind, really is. I love being out in the middle of nowhere. I don't like connecting with roads, and I do bleat about it a lot, but there seems to be a lot of diversions on roads. I'm still glad I've done it, because the times when you are out in the country and out on the riverbanks, it's wonderful, really lovely. If you like birds, if you like that feeling of being in the middle of nowhere, it's brilliant. And now this afternoon, the last 3 hours, been fantastic. Walking down by the river, the sun on you, I haven't seen one person, except for when I was in Reedham, obviously, we're going through the town, but yeah, it's cool. So day 2 over, join me for day 3. Hopefully I get some sleep tonight. It was raining till 12 last night and then windy for 2 hours. Hopefully I'm knackered, so I should get some sleep. Thanks for joining me. See you tomorrow. Quick 360 spin round to show you what I mean by the distance and the isolation in a good way. Sun's just going down, probably got another half an hour, but that's me for the night.